Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here in my little converted garage. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined today, of course, coming to us from his lair out in Burbank. Our technical producer, Jonathan Voico, is here.
That's right. I'm here, everybody. Hello. Hello.
And you know what? Every once in a while, I get the privilege to talk to somebody that I am truly a fan of and that I'm really excited to speak to. And then on other days, I talk to Christian Harloff, who, by the way, Christian will be on the show on Monday, just so you know.
Oh, nice.
But there's a bunch of people online that I really respect and I love their content. And this guy is one that both Ann and I both just absolutely love watching his content. Ladies and gentlemen, from Screen Crush, Ryan Airy is here, ladies and gentlemen. Ryan, how you doing, sir?
I'm great, John. What a nice introduction. I had never heard of you before today, so it's really good to know that you were a fan of us over here at Screen Crush. So yeah, it's great to see you.
We bumped into each other. So yeah, listen, guys, we have a bunch of stuff that we need to talk about here today. It's going to be a bit of a shorter show today because I got to get over to watch the Odyssey and go to a Lord of the Rings concert in downtown LA. But we do have some pretty cool things to discuss, and we're going to start off with this. You know, one of the truly most delightful guys, I think, in entertainment, whenever he pops up on screen, you just think you're going to have a good time, is Danny McBride. Now, Danny McBride has also kind of tried his hand at screenwriting with, understandably, some mixed results. For example, he kind of broke out with The Foot Fist Way, which is like all-time classic. Then he did Your Highness, which is not the strongest material that he's had. Then he did the Halloween trilogy that he wrote, which I really liked the 2018 first one he did. I thought it kind of went to the crapper after that. And then it's just best if we all forget about The Exorcist Believer. But you guys heard probably about a week or so ago, word started going around that Paramount was going to be looking at him to write a G.I. Joe movie. Well, and I said, going to call myself out here. I said, you know what? I don't think this is going to happen. Like, he'll probably write a treatment. I don't think this is going to happen. Well, forget that, because according to Deadline now, it's not only is he writing a G.I. Joe movie, but apparently he is going to, for the first time in his career, direct it as well. This comes to us from Deadline, who writes, after being tapped to pen the next G.I. Joe movie at Paramount, Danny McBride is now set to make his directorial debut on a new feature film of the classic Hasbro toy franchise. Plot details are being kept under wraps at this time. Let me guess, they're fighting Cobra. Though sources say this is certainly a high priority at the studio now that McBride is on board to direct. All right. I have thoughts. Let me start with the fact that I really like Danny McBride. Like I said earlier, whenever he pops up in something, it gets my attention. He always puts a smile on my face. I just like the guy as a performer. That said, I have thrice issues with this. Number one, Danny has not yet shown himself to be a particularly consistent, strong screenwriter. Like I said, I thought he did a bang up job with that first Halloween movie, but everything else to me has been, well, shaky. The second thing is, much like we were talking about, I keep freezing on his name, Jonathan, the guy who directed X-Men Dark Phoenix. And wrote 1,000 movies, including a bunch of X-Men stuff. And I'm freezing on his name now, but
It's
a guy who is well-versed in all,
Simon Kinberg.
Thank you, Simon Kinberg.
Yeah.
Who we hung out with one night in a toy line. But I brought up concerns when I said, I don't know if an X-Men movie is a good idea to make your first film that you direct. And we saw how that turned out. I'm not sure if something like a high profile property like a G.I. Joe is a good idea for Danny to make his first directorial effort. So again, not that it couldn't turn out great. It could. I just think I have some concerns with it. The third problem, guys, that I have with this, or maybe not problem, but concern. The third concern I have with this is, should they even be making G.I. Joe right now? I mean, we just came out of Masters of the Universe, which, 80s nostalgia, toy fever dreams of dudes my age and younger. I mean, it seemed like a good idea, and absolutely nobody went to it. The lesson we learned is not that many people cared about, or today care about Masters of the Universe or He-Man. And I just don't know that there is an audience out there that is lining up. As a matter of fact, there have been 3 live action G.I. Joe movies. The first one with Channing Tatum, I think, made about 300 million. The second one with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson also made around 300 million. And then that Snake Eyes, I almost said Storm Shadow movie. The Snake Eyes movie, which should have been awesome, was definitively not, and made about
the elements
$40 million.
Bucks.
The elements, I mean, you had the right guy. Anyway, made about $40 million. So I'm not sure about Danny as a screenwriter for it. I'm not sure about Danny as a director for it, even though I like Danny a lot. And I'm just not sure that there's an audience right now for a G.I. Joe movie. Anyway, Ryan, you hear Danny McBride writing, directing a G.I. Joe film for Paramount. What are your thoughts?
Well, this was a bake-off, right? Like they had his script and they had somebody else's.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
I first must also say I love Danny McBride as well. Eastbound and Down is foundational humor for me.
Yeah.
Right. And then the same team did Observe and Report, which I really liked when it came out. So I'm a big fan. I didn't like Your Highness, but we'll put that aside for now. You hit the nail on the head, right? So Transformers came out. That's another 80s property. That came out in 2000 when it was part of the 20-year nostalgia cycle. Yes. And then then those movies became their own franchise. So kids who grew up with it didn't know the 80s cartoons, they knew that. And then you had G.I. Joe. Those movies came out about 10 years ago. So you might get kids from that. But Masters of the Universe is on a 40-year nostalgia cycle, which would be like if my dad was into like Benny Goodman records in the 1980s. It doesn't make any sense. So, and the other problem with Masters of the Universe that makes me go, ooh, I wonder what he's going to do with G.I. Joe, is who is Masters of the Universe for? Because when I watched it, I was like, okay, it's not embracing this. It's not just for kids. It's tongue-in-cheek. It's trying to be Guardians. It undermines its own seriousness. It's not super dark like the Kevin Smith series. It tried to be a lot of things to a lot of people. That's what I'm curious about here. Like, I wasn't even allowed to watch G.I. Joe when I was a kid, and I really want to see this movie because I'm not sure if Danny McBride is going to embrace the camp and make it feel like a cartoon where it's red lasers versus blue lasers, or if he really loves this property and sees something deeper in the ever-growing conflict between G.I. Joe and Cobra.
This is going to be one of those situations for me where I'm pessimistic, but I'm really hopeful because I want to see Danny succeed at this, and I would love to see a great G.I. Joe movie. I have some apprehensions that it could happen. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Danny McBride is going to, who we all like around here, is going to write, direct a G.I. Joe movie. Good idea? Bad idea? Do you care? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. Well, the Odyssey is here. It is hitting public open screenings today as it enters theaters. And of course, the first reactions were through the roof. The full reviews all came out yesterday. It still is being classified as universally praised or whatever over at Metacritic. It's got like a 96 or a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I haven't seen it yet. Going to go over and see it today. Now, part of the question, there have been 2. One, would it be good? Well, if you listen to all the people who've seen it so far, yes, it's really good. But the second question has been, are people going to go out and see it? That's been the question. Now, right now, as we're heading into its weekend, Box Office Pro and others have now given their final projections for the opening weekend for the Odyssey. And they are saying it's looking to get about $100 million North American. Specifically, they're saying the range is 90 to 105 million. But they're saying themselves that they are targeting $100 million for the opening of the Odyssey. Now, to put that into context and a bit of perspective, if you look at all the Christopher Nolan films without the word night in it, aka Batman films, if it does come in at about the $100 million mark, that would make this movie the highest opening weekend ever for a Christopher Nolan film. So as we take a look at this, the biggest opening weekend for a Christopher Nolan film that is not Batman was Oppenheimer. That opened $82 million. Inception opened to 62 and Dunkirk opened to 50. But the interesting thing here, though, is look at what those movies ended up making. Dunkirk, with a $50 million opening, went on to make $500 million. That was a huge surprise. A lot of people didn't know if anybody would go see Dunkirk. I loved it. Anyway, made over $500 million, $527 million. Inception, with a $62 million opening, considered by many people maybe to be Christopher Nolan's best film, ended up making $836 million. Now, the closest to the opening projections of Odyssey is Oppenheimer, which had an $82 million opening, and it came within a breath of making $1 billion. So, if you step back then and look at this, you have to keep a couple things in context. Number one, only 2 films in the history of cinema, only 2 R-rated films in the history of cinema have ever joined the $1 billion club. Only 2. That was Deadpool and Wolverine, and that was the first Joker before he became Folie à Deux. So that's it. Can Oppenheimer be the third? Maybe, but again, it's a tall order. Only 2 films have ever done it in history. Also keep in mind that it's not necessarily going to be a 1-to-1 ratio, right? Like, just because Oppenheimer opened 82, that if Odyssey opens over that automatically means it'll make more money in the long term than Oppenheimer did. That's a false equivalency. That's not necessarily true, but it's certainly possible. And guys, if this movie can open to 10 million higher, 15 million higher, 20 million higher than Oppenheimer did, I think it's fair to say there is at least a realistic chance that we could be talking about the Odyssey as becoming the third R-rated member of the $1 billion club. Anyway, Ryan, you've seen the numbers. You've heard all the buzz. The movie's finally here. Is it going to attract enough people and put enough butts in the seat that there's a potential for this thing to be his highest grossing film? And also, could it join the $1 billion club? What do you think?
Well, I've seen the Odyssey. Saw it on Monday. It's a masterpiece. So it does have that going for it. And I'll tell you the reason, before I tell you my box office prediction, I'll tell you the reason for this prediction. What he did here is he took this text that, is thousands of years old, and he made it incredibly accessible. Nolan is a master of exposition. In some movies, he likes to withhold. I think he withheld in Oppenheimer. He withheld in Dunkirk. He withheld information in Inception. In this movie, he does not. He assumes that people might be familiar with "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" and he fleshes it out from there. And in a way that's very satisfying. Like the fact that there's a scene in the movie, just in case people haven't read this, I'm not going to spoil a 4,000-year-old, 3,000-year-old story. There's a scene toward the end where the theater I was in of press screening erupted in cheers. And this is nearing 3 hours when this happened. So he really, really pulled people in and made this accessible. I think Oppenheimer did so well because of the Barbenheimer thing, because a lot of people, were paired with that. I think the Odyssey is going to eclipse it by far. I think it's not only going to pass $1 billion. I think it's going to hit 1.2 or 1.5. And here's why.
Really?
It's accessible for people overseas. Even with that 3-hour runtime, I think it's going to perform even better overseas than what Oppenheimer did. Because Oppenheimer, I think, just the material itself is very closed off to people. It's a drama about the making of the atomic bomb. This was good as Cyclops and sword fights and all this other stuff. And frankly, it's what movies used to feel like when you go see them. It's a 3-hour epic, and I can't wait to go see it again this weekend. So yeah, I think it's going to go over $1 billion.
Wow. So when, like, you obviously mentioned just now that there was that one moment of huge eruption. I have not gone to see the film yet. I'm seeing it today for the first time. How did you gauge the theater you saw it in? Was it fairly enthusiastic? Were people buzzing about it as they were walking out? Were there how was the audience that you saw it with?
Buzzing. And I should clarify here. So it was partial press. I was down in the VIP section. It was a 70 mil screening, not an IMAX. So there were a lot of civilians there. There were some influencer types there too, but the whole back part was people who waited in line, a very, very, very long line. When I saw the line, I thought I had to wait in it. And I was there for a second. And I thought, wait a minute, I'm Ryan Airy. And I walked in. So yeah, it was people who wanted to see it and were not.
I'm going to make that t-shirt now, right? I'm going to make that t-shirt.
Please, just give me a nickel for every one you sell. I want points, buddy. I want points. I got to wet my beak. The theater was so into it, and I was surprised because at this particular moment, if you've read the book, I mean, it happens in the damn story. Like, it's not a surprise. But he had built up this moment so well, and you're rooting for this so hard that when it happened, it's just so cathartic. It's like in Game of Thrones. You know, there were some Game of Thrones moments that were just built up over years, and when they finally happened, you felt really relieved.
It's that moment when Tom Holland says dad, right? It was the moment when Tom Holland said dad.
Which,
and everyone erupted.
Which is great. All that stuff's great too. No, I mean, I don't want to say just because I don't want you to go to go in with heightened expectations. But the other thing Nolan did in it, I don't want to geek out too much about Odyssey stuff. He found a way to keep the text very literal. He also took things from Emily Wilson's adaptation and the book Circe. There's aspects of these different alternative texts of the Odyssey and other interpretations that he incorporated. But he also found a way to make it really relevant to today without being this guy's like the president. He incorporated imagery and things from the war. Odysseus is very much it's a story of a veteran. He's not searching for glory or Kleos like he does in the book. He's suffering from the trauma of war. And as somebody who always advocates for veterans' rights, that hit me too. I don't want to spoil anything else. I can talk about this movie all day. I love it. We got a video coming out tomorrow on it too.
Well, I'll make sure I'll be watching that. So guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this? As of right now, with the final tracking coming in before its opening weekend, Odyssey is now tracking to be the biggest opening of Christopher Nolan's career that doesn't have Batman in it. How big do you think it can be this weekend? And ultimately, how big do you think it can be overall? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we still have a couple of other things to do here, including we're going to play ourselves a little game of what's more likely since we have Ryan here. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about this report that's going around that there are a couple names being floated for Professor Charles Xavier in an upcoming X-Men film. We're going to talk about that and a few things more in just a minute. But before we do, we're going to take a second and thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show, our friends at Mars Men and BetterHelp. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Mars Men. You know, one of the things that catches a lot of us guys off guard as we get older is that staying in shape isn't quite as straightforward as it used to be. You can be putting in the same effort at the gym and watching what you eat, but your body just doesn't seem to respond the way that it did a few years ago. A big reason for that is that testosterone levels naturally decline as men age. And that's where today's sponsor, Mars Men, comes in. Mars Men is a natural supplement designed to support healthy testosterone levels with top-notch ingredients. It's made in the USA, third-party tested, contains no synthetic hormones or weird stimulants, and is designed to support healthy testosterone levels, weight management, exercise performance, and overall energy. They also back it up with a 90-day money-back guarantee, which is key. And according to the company, over 91% of users reported higher energy levels. For a limited time, our listeners can get 50% off for life, plus free shipping and 3 free gifts at mengotomars.com. That's mengotomars.com for 50% off and 3 free gifts when you check out. And it's also available on Amazon. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them our show sent you. Guys, we want to take a second and thank a sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp. Look, guys, we talk about mental health a lot around here and a lot more openly these days, but actually raising your hand and asking for help, it can still feel incredibly hard. I mean, we wouldn't hesitate to tell a friend it's good to talk to somebody, but society still makes us think twice when it's our turn. BetterHelp is working to bridge that gap. They are the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 6 million people globally with a network of over 30,000 fully licensed, high-quality therapists who work under a strict code of conduct. And the bottom line is that the data shows it works, holding an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 for a live session based on over 1.7 million client reviews. BetterHelp handles the initial matching work for you through a short questionnaire tailored to your needs and preferences. Plus, their industry-leading match fulfillment rate means they usually get it right the first time, but if you ever want to switch, you can do so at any time. Don't let stigma stand in the way of support. Start therapy with BetterHelp. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/Campea. That's betterhelp.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Mars Men and BetterHelp for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys. With that down, we thought since we had Ryan here, it would be time for us to play ourselves a little game of what's more likely. The way the game works is really quite simple. A little bit earlier today, I jumped on the community tab on the YouTube channel, and I asked you guys to submit some scenarios of what's more likely. Jonathan's got a few of them gathered up in front of him. So Jonathan, what do we got up first?
All right, starting with you, John. This is coming from Londo Loaded. I almost said, is this an overreaction? But what's more likely? The Odyssey having the best box office run of the summer, or Spider-Man Brand New Day having the better run?
Well, this is probably one of the easier ones we've ever had because, we were just talking about the Odyssey and what its box office potential could be. Again, only 2 R-rated films in history have ever joined the $1 billion club. So it has the potential to be the third. Spider-Man has the potential to be a $2 billion film. I'm not saying it will be a $2 billion film, but it has that ceiling is literally about double of what the ceiling, I think, of the Odyssey is. So, Ryan, I'm going to say that the more likely scenario here is that Spider-Man has the better box office run. What do you think?
I don't know if Spider-Man's going to make its money back, to be honest with you. I've never heard of the character before today.
Peter
Some man spider, you say? I don't even know who that is. Peter who? It doesn't. No, that movie's going to hit 2.2 easy. And the other thing it has going for it is the Doomsday curiosity. I think it came out today that it's got one mid or post-credit scene that teases Doomsday. I don't remember where I saw that, somewhere on the tweets or the socials or something. But that alone, I think, is just going to drive morbid curiosity if Doctor Doom appears in it or some sort of X-Men plan fighting Doctor Doom. We don't know. I mean, my guess is the post-credit scene would feature the X-Men of some kind because we haven't seen that particular thing teased yet. But yeah, no, I think it's easily going to double the money that the Odyssey makes.
All right, Jonathan, what we got up next?
All right, sticking with you, Ryan. This is going to be coming from Jacob Dawes. What's more likely here? A second DC movie gets announced for 2027, or a second Marvel movie gets announced for 2027?
I don't think either are that likely. I mean, so, okay. DC is in trouble. Like, there's different reports that are floating around that are unsubstantiated, but they kind of float with different rumors. And like Gunn and Safran really need a win. And unless there was another DC movie that they were already making, kind of like with Clayface, where they said, oh, actually, that's in the DCU now. Unless there was something like that, like a Blue Beetle that was tucked away, I seriously doubt we're going to get another film. Marvel, I think I could see them doing something stealth, like if Doomsday is setting up something that they don't want us to know about. But it's really hard to make a movie, and you can't really just make them in secret, especially big budget Marvel movies. So I don't think either, but I would put my chips on Marvel, I guess.
I completely agree on all fronts. Number one, I don't think either is likely, but I think the more likely scenario is Marvel. I mean, listen, we got Comic-Con coming up. I won't fall out of my chair with shock if Kevin Feige comes on stage and says, oh, and by the way, one more thing, Blade is finally happening. That one's probably not Blade, but like, oh, we've actually already been working on a new Thor to come in between Doomsday and Secret Wars, or we've already been secretly working. I mean, again, I don't think either is likely, but I think that one is more likely. The problem I'm seeing with DC right now, and Ryan, obviously you and I have never talked about this, but I believe it was late 2022, early 2023 when James Gunn came out and kind of announced the first kind of blueprint for the Gods and Monsters universe.
Mm-hmm.
We're 3 to 4 years in. I'm not asking DC to have 4 movies in production a year. Heaven forbid. But in 2027, we'll be 4 to 5 years in. And the only movie we have in production for that is a Superman follow-up, which I'm looking forward to very much. Don't get me wrong. It's almost as if the CEO of the company is preoccupied doing other things and not properly shepherding a universe and getting multiple projects developed because he's so damn busy being on set of his own movies. And I love James Gunn as a director.
Love James Gunn.
And I love him just in general. But he's got to pick a job. I mean, I don't know. So that too is why I don't think it's very likely at all that we'll get another DC announcement. So, all right.
Yeah,
John?
I agree.
Oh,
I
go
agree.
ahead.
I agree. No, I agree. I think that he is new to running a studio and he needs a team of producers around him like Feige built up over the years.
Yeah, agreed. All right, Jonathan, what we got up next?
All right, over to you, John, on this one. This is from Storytelling Sorceress. What's more likely, Matt Damon wins the Best Actor Oscar for the Odyssey, or Tom Cruise wins it for Digger?
All right. I am at a little bit of a disadvantage here because I have not seen Odyssey for a few more hours. What I have seen is about 15 minutes of Tom Cruise in Digger. And I remember coming out of that CinemaCon presentation going, this is going to get Tom Cruise's Academy Award. This is just going to get him his Academy Award. Now, I'm hearing from everybody, and Ryan will be able to speak to this more authoritatively than I can, but I'm hearing from a lot of people that, oh yeah, Matt is definitely going to get nominated for Best Actor. So that'll be fresh to see. But from my limited perspective and from what I've seen, I got to think it's more likely that Tom Cruise, by the way, don't forget another name called Timothée Chalamet, but I would think right now that it's probably more likely Tom Cruise gets his first Academy Award. What do you think, Ryan?
Well, you got to remember why the Academy votes for things, right? It's never actually who gave the best performance. It's always based on, I don't know, vibes, campaigns, other things. Like I remember when Julia Roberts won over Ellen Burstyn in 2000 when she won for Aaron Brockovich, and Ellen Burstyn was in Requiem for a Dream. I thought that was ridiculous. Like that's when I learned this is more about who the narrative fits, right? And I watched a great social video from Jason Pargin the other day. He's a great social author and a social influencer. And he pointed out, I've forgotten this, but like in the late 2000s, that video of Tom Cruise talking about his religion hit the internet, it leaked, and it was really strange and unhinged. And his theory is that Tom Cruise then had to pump the brakes on what he was doing, which are like really cool, dramatic, experimental roles. And Tom Cruise is a great actor, like Rain Man, his body of work is incredible. But he pumped the brakes on that to focus on action movies, being relatable, doing his own stunts. And now that the Mission Impossible movies are done, he's ready to get weird again. I mean, this is a guy who invented his character from Magnolia, you know, who is a great writer and wrote his part in Tropic Thunder. I think it's Tom Cruise. I think Hollywood is now looking at him and saying, yep, it's time. He's due. He's normal again, to quote Jason Pargin. Like I think that he's going to win the popularity contest, and they're going to say, you know, he's been nominated at least twice before, and this 3 times the charm.
All right, Jonathan, what's up next?
All right, Ryan, sticking with you. This is from Loso and writes, what's more likely, Lucasfilm rebooting the original Star Wars trilogy, or I feel like John wants to troll us with these questions. Lucasfilm rebooting the original Star Wars trilogy, or continue the story after Rise of Skywalker if Starfighter is poorly received?
Okay, there's no way Starfighter is going to be less poorly received, I think, than Mandalorian and Grogu at the box office. I think it's going to do fine. That aside, as long as like Dave Filoni's in charge of Lucasfilm, they will never touch the sacred text of the original trilogy unless it's to put animation characters at films that take place in between in live action, so he can make it like Zeb Aurelius a household name or something. No, I don't think there's any chance. Maybe if Disney fully took control of Lucasfilm, they would say, why have we not just redone this? Look how well reboots work out for us. But no, I don't think that's going to happen in my lifetime.
Yeah, I think the idea of them ever rebooting. Well, by the way, if they want to reboot Star Wars, that's fine to me. I don't mind if they reboot it because that doesn't take away the originals.
Right.
But number one, I think Ryan's right when he says, as long as Filoni's there, they're never going to do that. I question how long Filoni's going to be there. But even if it wasn't Filoni, I don't think they'd be looking to reboot it. You've just got to move on in a new direction. I also think it's very unlikely Starfighter is going to be poorly received. I mean, when you look at the writer, the director, the cast, I think everything about this, like even Ryan before Mandalorian and Grogu came out, which I always thought was a very odd choice to make that movie and to make it the first Star Wars film on screen since 2019. Same. But even months before the movie came out, I'm like, yes, Mandalorian's coming, but in my headcanon, the next return of Star Wars to the big screen is Starfighter. So I think that's going to do it. But yeah, even if it flops on its face, they might take a step back and do a little bit of a reset, but I don't think rebooting the Star Wars universe is in the cards. All right, Jonathan, we got one last one. Which one is that?
One last one. Speaking of Star Wars, we have Imperial Executioner here, and they ask what's more likely because of the Odyssey's likely huge success. Will other studios also try making massive Greek epics or stay away from the genre and assume the Odyssey can't be topped?
I honestly, this reminds me a lot of back when Lord of the Rings came out, when Fellowship of the Ring came out, because the sentiment at the time, for those of you old enough to remember, was that, oh my God, this is going to open the floodgate of sword, sandal, and sorcery movies. Everybody's going to be making them now. But what actually happened was everybody recoiled because nobody wanted to be compared to Lord of the Rings. And we actually did not get some huge influx of, like, more than normal at any rate, of sword, sandal, and sorcery movies. And I have a feeling the same thing is going to happen here with the Odyssey, because it's not just about, oh, the formula, make Greek myth movies. This one's got Christopher Nolan directing it. You're not going to, so unless you want to do the Iliad with Denis Villeneuve, I really don't know that
would
it's
be
gonna
really
happen.
cool.
Which would be, I'd be down. I would be totally down for that movie. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, I really think it's going to have the opposite effect. I think it's going to be that great, that worked, so we're not going to do one. I don't know. Ryan, what do you think?
Well, okay, so the question is it going to be more Lord of the Rings or more Gladiator? Because Gladiator did spark a sword and sandals, not Renaissance, but like after that, you got Troy, you got Kingdom of Heaven, Alexander, a bunch of movies that really sucked that came out after that. And you're right, but we did get like the Chronicles of Narnia. I think with Lord of the Rings, they looked at the literature and said, well, what could match this, right?
Right.
Having seen the movie, I'll say it's not exactly the kind of thing that sells you on a Greek myth cinematic universe. It's not like we would expect to see the Circe from this movie pop up somewhere else. I don't know. My friend Patrick Willems on his channel said it's weird Hollywood didn't make a lot of dinosaur movies because kids love dinosaurs, but for some reason they looked at Jurassic Park and said, "Oh, can't do more of those," but they make shark movies and they're not afraid of Jaws. I feel like we're going to get some Greek myth movies. I think we're going to get that kind of thing. Maybe Percy Jackson gets a redo on the big screen or something like that too. I think that Hollywood will try to imitate.
All right, guys. And that will wrap up today's session of What's More Likely. Thank you to all you guys who submitted your scenarios. Keep your eyes open on the YouTube channel for the next time. We only leave the submissions open for about 3 or 4 minutes because you guys flood them in, but keep your eyes open on the community tab for the next time we put out a call, and maybe you'll see your scenario on the next round of What's More Likely. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? As a part of the MCU that everybody's very excited about is post-Secret Wars and the new mutant era, the mutant saga. Some people have already started coining the phrase. Now, we've been talking about some whispers going around. Is Sadie Sink playing Jean Grey? Obviously she is, but who knows? We might be surprised. We also talked a little bit the other day about Adam Driver maybe being Magneto. Now there's rumors maybe he's going to be, remember we said this on the show, I said, okay, him being Magneto, but man, I could really totally see him as a Nathaniel Essex. I could totally see him as a Mr. Sinister. Well, now there's rumors going around that maybe he's Mr. Sinister. But if we have our Magneto or don't, that still leaves open the idea of who is going to play Charles himself, Professor X. And the reports and the rumors going around are Bill Skarsgård and Patrick Wilson. Now, before we dive into this, I have to let you know that we are firmly planting this one under the file of rumor mill. This is absolutely a rumor mill topic we're talking about. This is not confirmed by anybody or anyone, but it's interesting and we're going to discuss it here. Now, when we discuss rumor mill stuff, we always ask the same 2 questions. The first is, do we find this rumor believable? And then the second question is, assuming it's true for the sake of discussion, how would we feel about it? Well, in this particular instance of the rumor mill, there are 2 names that they say are being bandied about to play Professor Charles Xavier. One is Bill Skarsgård, of course, from the It movies, Northman. He was really good in John Wick Chapter 4. I wasn't a big fan of Nosferatu, but man, he rocked in it. And of course, Patrick Wilson, who's just in just about everything and can do anything. I even liked him as Aquaman's brother. I know some people didn't. I did, so take that. One thing to keep in mind about both of these guys, though, is that there's a bit of an age difference between them. I believe that Skarsgård is 35 years old, whereas Patrick Wilson is 53.
Mhm.
So there's nearly a 20-year difference between the two. Now, as far as who would I prefer to see, in straight up acting ability, to me, it's a coin toss. I love watching both of these guys. I think they're both great. I think both of them would be perfectly wonderful Charles Xaviers. I mean, if James McAvoy can do it, why not Skarsgård? Why not Wilson? I will lean, though, towards Wilson. And the reason for that is this. I think Skarsgård is just a bit too young. I think he's just a bit too young. Now, I understand we're doing X-Men on a younger scale right now, but we were talking about Adam Driver the other day. Adam Driver, if he was going to be Magneto, he's 42, 43 years old. And I think that's the floor. I think that's as young as you can go. I think that's just in the acceptable range if you're going to get a bunch of X-Men characters who are supposed to be in their early to mid 20s. So I think that's fine. And I think Wilson would just be more age appropriate for it. But, it depends, guys. I mean, for all we know, they want Magneto and Charles to both be in their early 30s. I mean, I don't know, but I would probably lean towards Patrick. So answering the first question, do I think this is believable? I'm not buying it. To be honest, I'm not buying it for either of them. But the second question, if we assume that it is true, how would I feel about either of these guys? Listen, if I woke up to a Variety article tomorrow saying Patrick Wilson or Bill Skarsgård got the role, I'd be perfectly satisfied. They're both terrific actors. I think they would both do the role justice, but I would personally lean more towards Patrick Wilson, if for no other reason I think he's a little bit more age appropriate. Anyway, Ron, I'm going to throw the two questions over to you that we always ask in the rumor mill. Number one, how would you rate the believability of these rumors going around? And then secondly, putting that aside, just assume it's true for a moment. How would you feel about either of these names?
Well, believability, these are some of the more believable X-Men. We did a live stream yesterday or Tuesday on Screen Crush where we talked about like how ridiculous some of these suggestions are that are out there where they're like clearly AI generated. I think this one has some sauce behind it. Patrick Wilson's been mentioned for a while. Bill Skarsgård, I also heard that they could be Xavier or Magneto, but I doubt if Magneto's even in this first movie. I give it about 60%. I think, yeah, these are names that are actually getting floated out and rumored, or at least they want them around. As for who I would prefer, Skarsgård, I think, can do anything. I think he's been pigeonholed as a villain. And I think once you shave his head, he can play a lot older than his 30-odd years. So I do think the age thing isn't as much of a problem for me. I do think Patrick Wilson has this kind of dad energy that maybe they're going to want Xavier to bring to the X-Men. You know what I mean? Like, if they're young kids, they're going to want someone to step in who can be like that father figure, which also sets him up to do some really bad, shady things that Xavier does in the comics later on.
Yeah, well, if you want to go Krakoan on that, yes, he could do some really nasty things. Now, this
Or
brings
danger,
up a question, though. Somebody, I didn't even think about this, and somebody in the live chat about a half hour before the show started threw this out there and said, given it that it's 2026, does Charles still need to be bald? You just kind of brought that up, Ryan. Like that is obviously one of our visual perceptions when we think of Charles Xavier bald. But it's not like he gets his powers from a shiny scalp. And when we had James McAvoy, that everybody
he's not the inverse Samson.
Yes, exactly. Totally, the completely polar opposite of Samson. When we look back at McAvoy, like we all kind of fell in love with him as a younger Charles, with a full head of bushy hair. I mean, so do you think, I think it's likely we're going to have a shaved head Charles Xavier, but I think there's a chance they don't. And I don't know that I'd actually be mad if they didn't. What do you think? Should they go with the bald Charles, or do you think they can break away from the bald? What do you think?
I'd be furious if he wasn't bald. In fact, as a balding man myself, I take issue with casting a non-follically impaired actor to play this role. I think if you're going to cast bald, you go bald. And that's why way back in the pages of Wizard magazine in the late 90s, the fans insisted that Charles Xavier be played by Patrick Stewart. But no, I think he goes shaved head. Well, for one thing, I don't think Bill Skarsgård can play him if he's not bald, but that could just be me there.
You know what they could, I could totally see them doing? They could probably completely do it kind of the same pattern they did it with the young X-Men stuff with James McAvoy, where maybe the first movie he has hair, and like at the end of the film, he comes out of the bathroom and he's shaved head, or comes out of the operating room, or comes out of the vortex or whatever it is. And like the first movie ends with him being bald. I could see them maybe doing something like that. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about these rumors going around about Bill Skarsgård or Patrick Wilson? Remember, this is under the rumor mill, being a potential Professor Charles Xavier. Do you like either one of them? Do you prefer one over the other? Do you think neither are a really good fit? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. And all right, guys, that will actually wrap up today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Of course, a big thank you to our technical producer, Jonathan Voico. Thank you as always, Jonathan.
See you guys later and have fun at Odyssey, John.
Thank you so much. And
Lord of the Rings.
And Lord of the Rings. For me, I've been really excited about having Ryan on here. Again, he's one of my favorite guys on YouTube. Ryan, thank you so much for being here in class and the join up. It's been a thrill having you guys. And just for those who may not know you, where can people follow you and your stuff online?
Substack's great. Just my name, Ryan Airy, RYAN. I got a link tree from there. Takes you to everything else. And I'll be obviously always on Screen Crush YouTube channel. You can find me there. Thanks, John. I had a great time.
And of course, the biggest thank you to all of you guys, the thousands of you guys who have been in the live chat. And we're looking forward to seeing you guys back here again tomorrow. Keep your eyes open on the channel for my out of theater response to the Odyssey when I see it a little bit later. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thank you so much for being here. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.